why did I want to write Stickmen? Write what you know. And some of it is shameless. You know, I've changed the names to protect the innocent, but you know, they were stories from, I was a big-time pool player, you know, moved in darker circles, had a, you know, in Wellington they were all basically, I took a whole lot of true stories that had happened and managed to link them together with this backbone of a story. But what was good was all the guys who the stories are based on were all in the movie. They all had parts in the movie, which was great. But pretty much, or a couple of them fell out, went around, but yeah, so that was fun. So yeah, it was, I cheated. I plagiarised life. One of the things I'll never forget about Stickmen, which was great, was we built the set of Dave's bar. And everybody in Wellington said, oh, I know that bar, even though it was a set that we'd built. But all the cast and crew used to, in order to dress the bar, we used to go in there and drink and smoke and play pool and trash the place, basically, make it look really worn down. And it was, everybody said afterwards, oh, couldn't we just strip down the bar and store it somewhere so we could put it back up whenever we needed it? And Hamish said to me, oh, do you want a role? And I said, oh yeah, I'd love a part in the film. So he cast me as Tim, the guy who gets a blowjob in the back of a car. I was acting opposite Luann Gordon, who is a pretty flash actress, you know, and I remember she, in the back of this car with her head bobbing up and down on my lap, and talking to me the whole way through, going, are they filming? Is this too fast? Is this too... And, you know, sitting in the back of the cab with her talking to me, you know, actors are a wonderful breed, saying, I think I'd be really doing this really fast because I'd want to get it over and done with. Okay, I am sitting here. This is hurtful. Yeah. I think Douglas was sometimes in a bit of despair about me because I was pretty rough and raw, you know, lad and sort of thing, and he's not. I like Douglas a lot. I'm really, really fond of him, and he's a vastly intelligent guy. We were a funny mix. We were a very odd couple. And there were days when we got on very well, and I think there were days when he was quite exhausted by me. And it was my role in that to really play the dumb guy, to say, what is collage? But I have never enjoyed myself more. And meeting artists and travelling around the country and talking to them. And also, you know, it was very interesting because I got to see another side to some people that I knew of. And that was quite enlightening. We were on a crazy tight schedule running around, and I got to see a lot of New Zealand, which I love. I love driving the country here. But when you see some of the artists and how they work, I wish we could have caught some of the stuff that wasn't when the cameras weren't running, because I'm even doing it now. People get a bit tight and get it, but there were some fantastic stories and some fantastic, and to be honest, I spent, I think, most of my money that I made from that thing buying art from the artists. I came back with a lot of art, but not a lot of money. The second-hand wedding was an interesting one because I had felt myself quite labelled as a lads writer, you know, and I was getting offered to write scripts for rugby movies and stuff like that, and I have a passing knowledge of rugby. I remember getting pounded into the ground at school when I played it. I was not very good at it. And I was getting offered all these kind of laddie movies, and I really wanted to write something that wasn't, that just should show that I had some versatility. And I had been talking to Lisa Chatfield, who'd done Scarface, and the two of us were having a drink and saying, because I had to sit with Stickmen with my grandmother watching it, you know, with various terrible things happening, and I remember her, and she had scarfies, you know, which had poo getting thrown around and people getting electrocuted and all sorts of things. And she said to me, you know, she said to me, well, it'd just be great if we could make a movie that our parents could go and see. And I said, oh yeah, that'd be great. And her and I started working on trying to get a project together. And I had the idea of Second-Hand Wedding, which at that stage was called Garage Sale. And it was it had come from my sister's wedding. And so I wrote a script that was pretty close to life. My mum and my sister didn't have a falling out, but my sister and I have lived in a second-hand household our whole lives. I don't think I ever owned a first-hand toy. I don't think I ever, everything, our shoes were painted, our clothes were, were handed down from cousins and sewn up and taken in, and it was, but I never wanted for anything, and it was great. And so I wrote this story about my sister when she was getting married. She said, I just don't want Mum turning it into, a third-rate wedding. But the funny thing was, which I changed it for the movie. My sister actually went, she budgeted her own wedding, and it was a great wedding. It was a really good wedding, And Dad drove the car to it, and she got the second-hand dress made up and all this sort of thing. And my mum and my dad are Jill and Brian. And I wrote them as Jill and Brian, the script, and it just kept going and kept going. And I had always intended to change it, but it never did change. All of the second-hand stuff you see in the movie is actually my mum's stuff. And my mum's house is groaning. There were shelves groaning with garage sale glass at my mum's place. And all of that dressed the thing. And when it came time to have the car, my dad is a Model T man, and Paul, the director, said to Dad, he said, oh, we're going to have to break the car. And Dad went, I'm going to do that with my car. So Dad went away and built them a car in 3 days for them to use for the one that broke. He built it out of borrowed parts from all them, assembled one. I remember him saying at the end, oh, I really enjoyed doing that, and now I want to finish it. Yeah, so, and then it is his car that's featured in it, and yeah, it was, write what you know, plagiarise life again, And the dress in Secondhand Wedding is my sister's wedding dress, her second-hand wedding dress, that then had to be redone. I remember talking to the costume designer. He said, there's been a lot of alterations done to this dress. I said, I don't doubt it. That script had floated around for 8 years, and everybody had turned down Secondhand Wedding. Everybody. And although it was denied, it had been before various funding bodies, like at least 8 times. I'd shown it to loads, and everybody turned it down. They said, the stakes aren't high enough. I said, have you ever been involved in a wedding, ever? They're the highest stakes they are. People fall out at weddings, terrible things, I wish if I could go back in time and be able to say, watch Gypsy Wedding, then you see, and for me, talking to producers and things at the time, people were saying things like, well, what if one of the family members got cancer? What if it was in a poor Maori community? What if it was? What if there was a dark secret in the family like incest? Or what if the daughter, is worried because she's got to a certain age and she hasn't got married yet? And I just had to keep saying to people, look, you don't get it. And what was good about it was, it was a lesson that I actually failed to learn because I've made the mistake since. Is I was able to hold on to it until the time was right, until I was with someone who understood it and believed in it and who was going to fight for it. And I also think too, because we were making it without interference from various peoples, it was able to be what it was, which was a charming film, a charming film that moved along at its own pace and, didn't play a lot of the big tricks that movies tend to play, and was just... was just something that you fell in love with the Roses. You fell in love with them, and it was. And I'm really happy that New Zealand fell in love with them because it is my mum and dad, and I'm glad they like them too. They're great, my mum and dad. Recently, I've been working on Nothing Trivial, which has been really fun as a TV series. Been really great. I got brought in. It's Gavin Strawn and Rachel Lang's baby. But interestingly enough, they don't play a lot of pub quiz. I'm a furious, obsessive pub quiz goer, and I think they knew that, so they brought me in to bring that element to it. I think, again, write what you know. And really, it couldn't have been a better fit for me because I've really enjoyed it, and we have fantastic days on the story table, rattling along, getting this thing pumping along, and we're obviously doing series 2 now, and it was very popular. And I like to think that it falls into that same kind of, there's something there that connects with the New Zealand audience. And interestingly enough, pub quiz has increased as a result. They've got more people turning up for pub quizzes than ever now, which is really fun, I think. For me as a writer, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've got I don't know, 5 feature films under my belt, quite a few. And I go in and I learn something new every day. And I tell you what, you know, I meet a lot of young writers who seem to know everything. And I have to say to them, look, I don't know everything, so you shouldn't. Maybe I'm not young enough to know everything. Maybe that's the thing, you know.